Today we're going to talk about 4 kinds of leverage. The word leverage comes from the word lever. Remember Archimedes' old quotation, give me a place to stand and a stick long enough and I can move the earth. Lever, the idea that with a fulcrum you can take a very heavy weight and move that by putting very little work if this is long enough. That's called leverage. I'm going to talk about 4 kinds of leverage a business can have. By the way, people often talk about leverage, and it is usually the 4th kind I'm going to talk about. And most people, other than the finance people, forget about this leverage. But the 4 kinds of leverage I'm going to talk about are actually useful for operating management, not just a CFO. So 4 kinds of leverage. The first is revenue leverage. How can you get a little bit of revenue and turn that into a lot of revenue? That's called revenue leverage. There are 3 ways to do that. First is to have a very successful product. Look at the number of iPhones Apple sells. Once the iPhone has been sold and caught on, Apple gets revenue leverage. That's one way to get revenue leverage. Second way to get revenue leverage is to sell a product into a company that actually just puts it into their product and sells it to their customers. Like Intel. Intel sells microprocessors. They sell it to Dell, they sell it to Sony, they sell it to Lenovo. All of these people make computers that use Intel microprocessors. So the more computers they sell, more Intel sells its microprocessors. That's another kind of way to get revenue leverage. The third kind of way to get revenue leverage is to have business that recurs every year. So for example, at ThinkShift, we have revenue leverage in what we call agency of record business, where we are the agency of record for one of our clients, and every year their marketing expenses, certain amount of it, they will spend on advertising that we expect to get. In this that business, you recur, that revenue occurs year after year, hopefully because you do such a good job, they want to stay with you. Revenue leverage is very powerful because you get, with a little bit of work up front, repeated revenue. The second kind of leverage one should think about is margin leverage, particularly gross margin leverage. As you sell more products, as you provide a particular service more and more, the cost of producing the product or providing the service should start going down. Your company and your infrastructure should be structured such that with higher levels of revenue, margin goes up, either because of production economies of scale or because of efficiency of operation. Margin leverage will improve your gross margin. So in your business, you should be asking, do I get margin leverage? Am I structured to get better and better margins as my revenues for a particular product or service continues to rise? The third type of leverage is operating leverage, where your operating expenses should not grow at the same pace at which the revenue grows. After all, you only need one CEO. You don't need multiple CEOs. So the expense of a CEO is fixed. With the growth in revenue, the expense of a CEO doesn't grow. Your number of accountants, number of payroll people, number of HR people, number of IT staff, these don't grow proportionate to the revenue. And therefore, your operating expenses should grow at a lower rate than the revenue growth, and that is called operating leverage. Finally, the leverage that most financial people talk about, and usually people assume this is what leverage means, is called financial leverage, where you borrow some money so that your own money together with the borrowed money can produce more output than your money would have produced. And therefore, the total output is leveraged by the borrowed money. That is called financial leverage. All four leverages are important. Doubtless, this is solely attended to by the CEO and the CFO. But everybody in the company should be looking at these kinds of leverages. So look back at your company. Ask yourself, what revenue leverage do we get? What margin leverage can we look for? Do we have an adequate amount of operating leverage? And of course, are we financially leveraged? By paying attention to that, you'll find that you can grow your operating profits by increasing one of the four leverages. Four types of leverage.